You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Rise and Shine Manitoba. This edition of the show is brought to you by Fabricland Winkler, Evolve Green, as well as AETI. Glad to be back on this Monday morning. Had a nice chance to get out to the cabin this past week, so that was a lot of fun. We had some nice weather until about Friday when it was storming all day. And speaking about the rain, just the storm that we had in Manitoba and in the Falcon Lake area, but there was also rain going on in Winnipeg as well. I'm sure other places as well in Manitoba on Friday. We're going to talk about the rain and how it has its effects on agriculture so far, with Harry Siemens coming up on the Farm Report first off to start off this episode. And then we're going to be talking to Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, just talking about the new return to play guidelines put out by Hockey Manitoba, how it's going to affect tournament play and travel play as well. And we're also going to finish off with a segment of Graeme's opinion. That's all coming up on Manitoba's show, Rise and Shine Manitoba, here on ASTV Productions. It's time to rise and shine. Let's go, folks. Let's go. You know, it's always a great start to the show when you kind of butcher the end of your intro, but we're going to turn it up a bit here. We're going to bring on the man on the Farm Report now, Harry Siemens. The Farm Report brought to you by Wolf Enterprises, and Harry is in a different spot than usual today. He's in the airport right now, which is pretty interesting, where we're going to ask him why he's there in a moment. But Harry, how are you doing on this Monday morning? It's great to connect with you once again, as always.
Hey, thank you very much. It's great to be on the show here today. And I just, normally I would be at home or in my own office, but at the same time, I had to take my, wanted to take my daughter, Lynn, and her husband, Luke, and my grandson, Oliver, 2.5 years old, to the airport to catch their flight back to Vancouver. They spent 10 days with me in Winkler. I was here Saturday a week ago, and today I'm taking them back. And so I figured, you know what, with the kind of self-service there's here, it's great to be on with you.
Yeah, no doubt. And you were telling me that you had to switch off of the Wi-Fi and go with the data. And it's great that you're able to do that because we can actually connect, which is awesome. And it's cool that we're able to connect while you're at the airport. But how is that like, just getting to see the family again?
Oh, it was just awesome. I mean, I had last August, exactly a year ago, I drove to Vancouver and spent a week with them over there. And so it was an awesome time. And so, you know, good things don't necessarily come to an end, but they change.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you know, you're going to have some change after this. Not really much of a change, but you're going to be doing another interview on CJOB. What's going to be talked about on that interview coming up at, you said 10:30 is when you're going to be on?
10:35 at CJOB with KK Kathy Kennedy, and basically the same reason I'm on with you, except in their case it's a come on the show and tell us what the farmers are thinking, saying, talking about as far as the rain is concerned. And I think you know what, I've had a chance to visit with probably 2-3 dozen farmers on Twitter who I asked yesterday to start to tell me what the rain will do. And first of all, we should simply say that number one, the rain is so good for it changes attitudes almost instantly. And the second thing is it replenishes the soil because the soil subsoil level has been so absolutely poor and low, and it starts to recharge some of the streams and of course the main rivers. And if we look across the province, I think pretty well every part of the province. I mean, there'll be a few parts that I'm sure I'm going to miss, but they basically had anywhere from 2 inches, almost 50 millimeters, up to 4, 5 inches, and so that's awesome. I mean, there were places that were reporting 3 and 4 inches already, almost 100 millimeters back on Saturday. Of course, we had another dump yesterday, not as much, but in Winkler we've had about I think 1 3/4 of an inch. That's almost it's about 40 millimeters, which is absolutely wonderful. Does it do much for this year's crop? For some of the later seeded ones, absolutely. Soybeans, corn, sunflowers, maybe even a bit of later canola, it can all benefit. But when I talk to farmers about this, it's also much more about what it does to the soil. I mean, once you start getting some decent moisture into the soil, we start to see weed growth. We start to see the volunteer grain that is dropped on the soil. It starts to green up. And if you have cattle or access to somebody that has livestock, all they do is put a quick electric fence around this place, and they can start to have those cattle graze in those fields. So that's part of it. The other thing is, uh, in fall, farmers like to do some fall work, some fertilizer application, and so forth. And when it's so very dry, you can't do any of that. Now, with the moisture in the soil having perked up, they can also do that. And so, yes, it all around just a bountiful, bountiful gift of what I call liquid gold. And so it's, well, you can see it. You go look out, and one farmer, he said, well, it'll mean that I'm going to be spending a few more hours on the lawnmower. Well, he wasn't complaining. He just said he's going to have to cut some grass, right?
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. And yeah, just speaking of the rain, I was, like I said in the intro, at my cabin in the Whiteshell area at Falcon Lake this past week, and it was perfect weather in terms of just sunshine, something you'd want on a vacation. And then all of a sudden on Friday, boom, in the afternoon, we saw rain, thunder, lightning for pretty much the whole day. So just speaking about that, just the timing of this much rain, just how perfect of a timing is this with just farmers going into harvest?
Well, first of all, it's for some of the farmers, it's a bit untimely, but absolutely they would take it for the simple reason a lot of crop is out there ready to be harvested, and a lot of it was dry, and so once you start to get some cereal crop, if it's either in the swath or standing, you get that kind of heavy rain. It can drop the grade, which means you get a drop in price. It can drop the quality and so forth. So from that standpoint, it's not the best. But on the other flip side, you know what? Any moisture at this point is absolutely welcomed, especially as thirsty as the soil and all the greenery and the crops were. I mean, there are some of the pastures that cattle producers have. They were so dry. In fact, they were so beat down that they were actually dead. So some of that will have to be reseeded, reworked, reseeded, and then it'll start to grow again. But going into the fall with this kind of moisture, everything just looks so much better when we get out of spring next year. and we start to put in next year's crop. So everything that people are talking about, it really has to do with 2021. There's more hope for the crop next year that we've had some moisture.
Yeah, and just how huge is that getting a bit of a head start just with the moisture in terms of how it's going to affect the soil and the crops going into, this time next year?
Well, it's just again, it increases the optimism if you get that fall work done. As I've already mentioned, that's already a head start for next year. There's people that like to put in what we call winter cereals. That's wheat and barley. They like to plant that in the fall after they've harvested this crop. So they put that crop in, and crop insurance requires that you have put in before the middle of September. After that, the crop insurance isn't valid, but they can still plant, but they don't have the crop insurance for next spring. So that's a head start for people. And then just going to meetings in the spring, like a lot of the farm meetings start to happen in January, and they're actually beginning to plan some meetings that were all canceled last year. So now with the rain, they can have a bit more optimism. The prices right now are good, but whenever the prices are so high, and they're high because of the drought, and they're high because of the shortfall of the crop, well, pretty soon the markets start to look at it and say, "Oh boy, no, now the crop may not be hurt as much," and so therefore the markets come down. So that's always the the give and take. They always say, what's the cure for high uh, for low prices? It's high. It's high prices. The one word versus the other. So it's going to be interesting. But the attitude, as far as I know, from all the producers, and again, even some producers in Saskatchewan, they did not get some of this rain. South Dakota or Minnesota, I should say, they didn't get this rain. So there are still parts that need it. And you know what? In Winkler, it was so dry. We had maybe 2 inches. We can easily take another 2 or 3 inches in order to replenish the subsoil and get the creeks and the rivers flowing again properly.
We always seem to talk about the markets here on the show in terms of just how high the prices were this year due to how the drought affected farmers and agriculture here in Manitoba. At this point, where are we looking at with the prices on the market at this point?
Well, just take, for instance, there are what we call spot markets. We have southern Manitoba, which was extremely dry, and I haven't heard any of the reports as far as rain is concerned from there. But there's hog producers right across Western Canada, and they take barley and maybe corn, and the barley normally would have been going for $4 to $5 a bushel. It was somewhere in the $8 to $9, $10. But if we look on the average prices of the crops, wheat is almost doubled from what it was last fall. Canola is doubled from what it was last fall. It'll probably back off a little bit because of what I just said before, but we're still at very, very good prices. A lot of the harvests. Now, we had a get together on Saturday, and my brother farmed. I have three brother-in-laws that farm, and so we talked about that. And the crops right now in southern Manitoba, and not you go further east, it's much better. But where I live in that area, the crops were doing about 40% of average. And so would those crops have been normal? It would have been quite a really good year. But now with the crop having been cut because of the drought and with those high prices, they're going to still have an average year considering as far as their return is concerned. So those are all the kinds of things that we look at. The markets are really buoyant, and we're going to have to wait and see. They had a drought in Brazil. They had frost in southern Manitoba, or southern in Brazil as well. And then they had in South America, they had frost and different parts of the world. And so it's really interesting to see what will happen as far as the entire supply. What they always look at this time of year, how much carryover once everything is done, the crop is in, and they haven't sold everything from last year. Those carryovers are going to be at very low levels, and that's a concern, because then all of a sudden, if we don't get a crop next year, then there won't be any carryover. There won't be enough grain to go around.
Well, it's going to be definitely something that we're going to continue to update the viewers on the Farm Report in terms of the market, as well as just how farmers are doing with the amount of rain that they got this week. Hopefully, or last week. Hopefully, we are able to see more and more rain come in the upcoming months here for sure, because of how dry it's been. But we're going to end off with this, Harry. Always love doing it. It's Siemens says, Harry Siemens farming tip of the week for farmers.
Well, number one, obviously, 99.9% of the farmers are extremely pleased, in many cases elated because of the moisture. But at the same time, farmers, they live, they give and take. They live by the weather. There's just nothing they can do. But my advice and tip today is, you know what? Hang in there. Do the work that you always do, just as exactly the way you've done in the past, and stay safe, and do what you've got to do. Stay safe, and keep plugging, because we need all the farmers, and we're down to 1.5% of the population, and so for that, those few people that are out on the farm, they do an awful lot of work for the rest of the world. Stay safe and keep plugging.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As always, some great words from a very knowledgeable man in the agriculture field. Harry Siemens on the Farm Report. Siemens says as well as that was his farming tip of the week for farmers. Harry, we're going to talk to you next week. Until then, have fun on CJOB coming up in just a bit. And get home safe from the airport as well. You take care, Harry.
You too. Take care.
Yeah, no problem. Harry Siemens, the man on the Farm Report, joining me on the show this morning on Rise and Shine Manitoba. And guess what? We're not done there on Rise and Shine Manitoba for this August 23rd edition. After the break, I'll be joining a guest that seems to be a reoccurring guest, and he's going to probably be like that moving forward. It's the goalie coach of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, Gordie Tumilson, joining the show next up here to talk about how the new Hockey Manitoba guidelines will affect tournaments and travel play for the team. Stick around here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Coming up after the break, we'll bring on Gordie, but first, a word from some of our sponsors.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5-EVOLVE. Or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Of course, Rise and Shine Manitoba is Manitoba's show. It's brought to you by, in today's episode, Fabricland Winkler and Evolve Green. Of course, you just saw from Fabricland Winkler and heard from Evolve Green, some great sponsors that sponsor not only this show, but some other shows here on the network, like Coffee with Graeme, my other show that goes every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time, which is Manitoba time zone. And we had Harry Siemens on the show to start things off today. We're going to transition into some hockey talk. As always, it's great to have this man on, Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, joining us on this August 23rd Monday morning. And one sec, Gordie, I just got to plug in my computer. Forgot to do that on the break. I don't want to die on you here. There we go. Anyways, Gordie, how's it going on this Monday morning? How are you doing?
Great Monday. Yeah, good weekend. We got lots of rain. Harry's happy about the rain, and so is everybody else in the province, I think, other than maybe a few that had some things canceled. But I think 99.9% of us are pleased with the rain and the fact that we can start moving forward in a regular weather pattern.
Yeah, no doubt. And, disappointing for sure if you were on vacation or heading out to the cabin on that Friday, if you were in the White Shell area. But, like I said it in the intro, I was able to, and to Harry, I was able to get some pretty nice weather while I was out there. So the rain was very welcome for sure, just with how dry it's been this year in Manitoba in the summer of 2021. But let's move away from that. Let's transition into just the new guidelines put out by Hockey Manitoba. You told me that the travel guidelines will affect you guys in terms of just, bringing in players from the U.S. So just speak about how the new travel guidelines in the Return to Play Hockey Manitoba documents will truly affect the Academy at Pilot Mound.
Well, of course, the main border between Canada and the United States is open for kids or people from the U.S. that are vaxxed accordingly, et cetera, et cetera. However, travel within provinces is still kind of iffy and sketchy, but Hockey Manitoba cleared that up for us. We've had 2 events canceled, 2 tournaments canceled, I guess, because of the continuation of COVID restrictions. So our teams in Manitoba are not allowed to travel outside the province until October the 1st. And therefore, our U15 team, which had plans to go to Minneapolis for 4 days, has been canceled, of course. The mid-September tournament down there, which was an exciting kickoff, but this isn't going to happen, unfortunately. And then our U17 boys team, male team, unfortunately won't be able to travel to Saskatchewan unless something changes in the meantime, sort of in the middle of the month as well, to play the absolutely new Indigenous Academy in northern Saskatchewan. So we've had 2 cancellations. We do have a couple of female games being played in Pilot Mound that I believe are still on. And there's all sorts of masking things and whatnot for that, but we'll get into that later. And so we've got the girls are able to play because they're playing local teams in Manitoba, but the boys aren't going to be able to play until October the 1st.
How are these guidelines going to affect the in terms of just the league play, in terms of you guys playing in the CSSHL with the stuff that you guys are able to do at this point?
Well, today there's it looks like we're good to go in terms of what we expect for other provinces. However, the variant wave 4 is still kicking around in Saskatchewan and Alberta, and we may expect that here, although we've done a pretty good job of vaccination in Manitoba. So hopefully, all that good stuff in place, we'll be able to just kind of follow the schedule. I know we have teams coming into Pilot Mound. The U17 boys team has teams coming in on October the 1st into the province. They're not allowed until October the 1st. So we're hoping that continues to be an opening for us. And our young guys, the U15s, are scheduled to play in Souris, Manitoba, which should be a go right on the sort of last weekend of this month, so or of September. So we're hoping all that goes and that the variants stop for a while and we get everybody vaccinated and get into some regular play. And so we're crossing our fingers that those things will take place and we won't have any interruption. But that's always a maybe, I guess, until we get this COVID thing, totally under control.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And hopefully we're able to do that at some point. It might never happen. COVID just might be here forever. But as long as people get vaccinated, I'm feeling pretty good that we should return to some sort of normal, at least. Just talking about tournament cancellations, is there anything the Academy is doing to kind of look at other options for tournaments down the line later in the year to kind of, I guess, replace the tournaments that you guys are missing at this point?
We're pretty booked, throughout the season now. The CSSHL schedule is such that we're pretty booked. So I'm not sure that we're going to get these tournaments rescheduled that are going to be are going to miss in September. However, those weekends that we're not playing, and again, as things unfold during the season, we'll see. We've got Ernie Sutherland and our head coaches, Kyle Nixon, Rick and Brad on our boys and girls teams are looking at all sorts of options as we go along. So nothing is in stone. And that's a good thing, I think. At the moment, we do have lots of plans, and some things can change and positively or negatively, I guess, as COVID takes shape. But again, as you said, the vaccination thing is important, and at some point, we're just going to have to be able to carry on with some safety measures in place, and hopefully nobody will get too sick. It'll be more like the flu, and people will get over it. And we'll be able to continue to play without having to fill up the ICUs and those kinds of places that we don't want to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We've put too much stress on places like that, the ICUs, the hospitals. It's just, hopefully, like I said, we can return to some sort of normal if people continue to get vaccinated. That's for sure. Speaking about something that we talked about last week in terms of the roster spots open within the teams, the U17 program, as well as the U18 female program. Just speak about, have any of those spots filled up at this point, or are there still spots that you guys are looking to fill on those teams?
Yeah, we had 9 spots sort of unofficially available last week, 7 now. So we've filled up 2 spots since officially, and we're looking at, and we've got people, negotiations are tough amongst parents, and I know Rod Collins and the head coaches are all involved in this thing. So we are looking at 7 spots rather than 9, and that's a plus, in 2 weeks to go. So, I guess as pressure comes to make decisions for us and for the players and their parents, and I hate to use the word pressure because, boy, that's one thing you really don't want kids having to feel coming, whether they're going to play here or there. But I guess that's part of the deal. And and of course, we can extend our openings into the season where players may not have made a commitment elsewhere and signed cards. So they're still open to us. And we may have some American players who decide that this is where they'd rather be. And we do have a few still thinking about it. So it's a juggling act. And I know Rod Collins is constantly in that mode. So we're just hoping we get it all done before our September 6th opening day. That'd be fun to have all 3 teams completed and fully functioning on that day.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, it doesn't have to be completely finalized, but it would be nice to see all 3 teams finalized at that point. Just talk about the excitement. I think we've talked about it before, but just, as training camp approaches, just as the teams in the academy are going to get back to, hitting the ice and practicing with the academy. Just what's the excitement like at this point of getting this training camp started?
Well, first of all, I'm 100 years old, and I never exaggerate, right? So I feel like 100 years old, but I'm excited. I'm really excited about this because we missed so much of last year, and you've got a full new stable other than one of the kids coming back. Julie Montfort is coming back. Other than Julie, we've got 6 new kids coming in, and boy, to me that's really great. And most of them have got a few years with us if we can keep them. So I'm excited from that perspective. The kids I know are just bouncing off walls. They can't get it. They're on the ice back in their homes, wherever they're coming from, Chicago, Ottawa, Toronto, I say North York and Toronto, out west, Lethbridge, Airdrie, and a couple of kids from Manitoba, rural Manitoba, that is. It's all excited, and I've been communicating with the goalies for a month now. So I guess a third week, we've got some nice things that we've been discussing. I give them a few little pointers to consider. We're trying to ramp up our drills, and so I've asked them to give me their favorite drills on video. There's lots of websites that we can visit. So this is a complete package that we run for the goalies, and I know they do that for the other players as well. And so we're really it's all about hockey, and that's we're going to do the education thing, and that's ho hum, and but it's playing the games and getting into practices, and it's for the goalies it's getting shots. Not they've got their COVID shots. Now they want to get the shots, and off their head and into the pads and making saves, and so we're really excited about doing that. And that seems odd when you're a player from the, in a defenseman or forward position, or anybody else who wants to get the puck shot at them. But here you go. The crazy people at the one end of the rink just love that, and that's what they're all about, and that's what they're waiting for. So we're pretty keen.
Yeah, and you know that better than anyone, hey, Gordie, that goalies are just built differently. They'd rather get hit by the puck and stop it than try to score it, which is for sure just a great thing about the position. But yeah, should be interesting to see what's going to happen with the season with Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, how the 3 teams will pan out this season. Of course, we're going to have you back on the show many, many times to talk about just the updates on what's going on with Pilot Mound. If there's no updates that you got for us next week, we'll be sure to have you on in the week after that for sure. Gordie Tumilson, the goalie coach of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, join me on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Gordie, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Thanks for taking the time out of your Monday morning for joining the show again.
Thanks, Graeme.
Yeah, Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, joining the show today. Just got to scratch my eye. I might have some allergies coming on, so I might pop an allergy pill. But after that, I'll come back and give you guys my take on the Elks Argos game in the CFL getting canceled due to COVID-19, as well as the King, Henrik Lundqvist, announcing his retirement after 15 seasons in the NHL. That's all coming up on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Stick around, more Rise and Shine to come after the commercial break.
Systems Beauty College is a little bit unique in respect to the way we teach our program. We don't do so much. I think Systems Beauty College is a little bit unique in respect to the way we teach our program. We don't do so much structure and learning and block teaching. Everybody can move along at the pace that suits them. everybody can move along at the pace that suits them. If they can move faster, they do so. Therefore, learning everything earlier and getting more practice in all segments of hairstyling as opposed to just being stuck in one section for a certain period of time. So we try to accommodate all the different learning styles.
And I'm back from getting my allergy pill, and that means welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Of course, this edition of the show brought to you by Fabricland Winkler, Evolve Green, AETI, and it's got to get the name right here. Systems Beauty College, proud sponsors of Rise and Shine Manitoba for when we use them, of course. Welcome back to the show, everyone. For everyone that's taking the time out of their Monday morning to watch Rise and Shine Manitoba on this August 23rd, 2021 edition of the show, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your Monday morning for doing that. And we've had a chance to talk about some agriculture in today's edition of the show, as well as some hockey. Of course, the farm report. We did that to start off the show with Harry Siemens. Great to know that he's doing well, as always, on these Monday mornings, as well as talking to Gordie Tumilson, the goalie coach of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, just talking mainly about the guidelines put out by Hockey Manitoba that's going to affect the Hockey Academy there. But we're going to dive into another edition of Graham's Opinion, and just two segments, two topics for you guys in today's edition of the show. Starting off with the Elks and Argos, the Edmonton Elks and the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL canceling their Week 4 matchup due to COVID-19. It was reported by Farhan Lalji it was reported by the league that 5 Elks players tested positive. Farhan Lalji said that BC will be monitored close. Well, TSN said BC will be monitored closely, but the team all tested negative on Saturday. The Elks were supposed to practice Sunday, but they canceled it in hopes of containing the outbreak. Obviously, not sure how that went, but 5 players being tested positive, not great. It was a locker room outbreak, apparently reported by Farhan Lalji. And, Edmonton has had issues this season with just in terms of players getting COVID-19. I know other teams have as well, but just most notably Edmonton for this topic. Kwaku Boateng missed Week 3's game due to testing positive for COVID, and other players on the team tested positive earlier in the season. And the morning of the game, the Elks had no positive tests, but Saturday it was different. That was reported by Farhan Lalji. The Elks are apparently, according to Farhan Lalji, among the fewest vaccinated teams in the league. I wasn't able to find the number of players that were vaccinated per team, so I'm going to take Farhan's word for it, just the legend that guy is. And I know that restrictions in Alberta are very relaxed. I don't know the specific details on it, but just looking at some stats charts, Alberta only has 65.37% of people with 1 dose of the vaccine at this point, and 57.74% of people are fully vaccinated, and that's not very great. Just looking at it, but their population is higher, but still, that's not numbers you'd like to see. Just comparing it to other places in Canada, in my opinion, the CFL is doing a great job of handling this and just handling COVID in general. They've really pushed it that players got to get vaccinated, not forcing them, but just basically saying that a team who tests positive will forfeit the canceled game, or both teams will forfeit the games that they have coming up just due to them both getting COVID. And 85% of players have to get vaccinated to receive their pay for that game that gets canceled. And if they don't hit that number, if a team doesn't hit that number, they won't receive their pay. But just looking at the Edmonton Elks, this could shoot them in the foot, depending on how bad the recovery time is for COVID. This could put the team behind a bit in a shortened season. Just looking at it, I'm pretty sure that they're not able to practice or travel at this point. CFL doing a great job at that, because you don't want to cause any further outbreaks. And in terms of it, it's just unlucky that this happens, because on the day of the game, on the morning of the game on Thursday, when it happened last week, like I said, they had no positive tests, but on Saturday that was different. And that's one of the things with COVID, is it can be all good one day, and then the next day you can have some positive tests. And BC at this point, they're going to be monitored closely this week, but they all tested negative on Saturday. Who knows if that can change? But my opinion on this is that the Edmonton Elks, their players that aren't vaccinated, should get vaccinated at this point, because why not? The vaccination, in my opinion, is a no-brainer. I don't think it's going to kill you. I think that there's a lot of myths out there about the vaccine and what it can do, and you can easily debunk that by doing a quick Google search and looking up, credible sources. And I just feel like, in terms of missing time due to COVID-19, if a team has to cancel a game, this is something the CFL didn't really want to happen. This is going to be money lost for players if the team's not 85% vaccinated. And just in terms of them not being able to practice or travel until basically this gets cleared up, this is going to put them behind, when you're trying to get into the rhythm of things, especially with how Edmonton has started, just getting in the groove of things with that first win. You gotta wonder if this might, disrupt just in terms of the routine, the rhythm that this team is in, but that's yet to be seen. But all in all, this is just an unfortunate circumstance for Edmonton, but just depends on how many players they have vaccinated. Honestly, karma is a crazy thing, how it works. Sometimes it's going to come back to bite you if you don't do the right thing. And I don't know the number of players that have been vaccinated, but just with it being reported that they're among the fewest vaccinated teams in the league, and just with the state with where Alberta is at, with the rise in numbers again, with numbers slowly starting to rise with the fourth wave coming on slowly here in the country of Canada. It's kind of not a surprise that Edmonton is getting what happened to them in a way, just with how Alberta has handled COVID recently, and just with how it's been reported with, they're one of the fewest teams in the league that has got vaccination in the Elks. But just an unfortunate thing, and we'll see what happens with the Edmonton Elks moving forward. Moving into some hockey now. Lundqvist retires. Henrik Lundqvist, New York Rangers legend, retires after playing 15 seasons. Unfortunate for him that he got a heart condition last year that I'm not sure. Haven't really read the report of why he retired, but we're going to not talk about that. We're going to talk about what Henrik Lundqvist was able to do throughout his career. Even though he didn't have a Stanley Cup, he was able to make it to one Stanley Cup appearance in 2014-15, where that team ended up losing to the Los Angeles Kings. This is a guy that finished 6th all-time in wins in the regular season. Excuse me for my voice crack there, but only 4 seasons he didn't post 30 wins in the regular season. Sometimes this man would start 70 to 72 games in a season. He appeared in 12 postseasons in his career. I'm not sure if I mentioned before, but he won a Vezina back in 2011, 2012. And, he played in an era with legends like Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, Malkin, just talking about out of his division. Had a chance to play on a team with Jaromir Jagr. He's had a chance to play with players against players, even though it was at the end of his prime, past his prime, when, with McDavid, or like nearing the end of his career with McDavid, McKinnon, Austin Matthews, just guys like Matt Barzal, and other guys as well. He played in an era where, there were some great goalies, Carey Price, you look at it, Tuukka Rask, had a chance to play in an era when Brodeur was still playing, Kiprasov, Bobrovsky, just you name it, the list goes on and on of the good to great goaltenders that he had a chance to play against in the league. And, this was a guy that was always in the conversation for the Vezina every season. And honestly, in his primes, he didn't get the offense that, this team was more of a defensive team. And their offensive numbers didn't even compare to the defensive numbers in terms of just goals for, goals against. And just looking at Henrik Lundqvist, yes, he doesn't get a cup, but it's so hard to win a Stanley Cup in the NHL, just with how the playoffs go, with the amount of upsets and the parity when the playoffs comes, with just the upsets of lower seeds to higher seeds. And he was consistent throughout his whole career. Consistently one of the top goaltenders in the world for his whole career. And, when he was, kind of nearing the end of his career, nearing the end of his prime, they finally started to get the offense, but they weren't able to get it done in the playoffs then, right? So, just looking at Henrik Lundqvist, a legend, absolutely, in my opinion, is a Hall of Famer. I'm not sure if it's going to be first ballot just due to the Stanley Cups, but he has a Vezina on his resume. He's been one of the top goaltenders in the time that I've had a chance to watch the NHL. And, just the era that he's played in with guys like Crosby, Ovechkin, Malkin, and then, like I said, the other players, playing with a guy, my apologies, a guy like Jaromir Jagr, playing against guys like Patrice Bergeron as well, the Brad Marchands, the Pasternaks, like I said, the McDavids, the McKinnons, the Matthews, the Johnny Gaudreaus, you name it. He's had a chance to play in probably the strongest era of hockey that we've ever seen. And, it's only getting better. So, Henrik Lundqvist, absolute legend. I hope he has a happy retirement. I hope that he's doing well. He's in good health. And yeah, just it's a lot. It's crazy to see him retiring, because before we know it, we're going to see guys like Crosby, Ovechkin, and guys like Price, just legends like that, retire at some point, which is crazy because for me, I've grown up watching these guys, right? But yeah, Henrik Lundqvist, put that man in the Hall of Fame when he's eligible for the Hall of Fame. Not sure if he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer just due to the lack of Stanley Cups that he didn't win, but it's so hard to win a cup. Just looking at the stats, he was a difference maker for this team, and yeah, he deserved a cup. Just too bad he wasn't able to get it. But yeah, that's going to do it for this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Not sure if I said coffee with Graeme or not when I tried to say Rise and Shine Manitoba earlier on the show. Sometimes my mind kind of says some other things that, I'd like to say something else, but I said the other thing. But yeah, Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Of course, special thanks to our sponsors of today's episode and Systems Beauty College, AETI, Fabricland Winkler, and Evolve Green for sponsoring this edition of the show. Special thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in today, as well as a special thanks to my guest in today's episode, and Harry Siemens on the Farm Report, as well as Gordie Tumilson of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, as he is their goalie coach. For Rise and Shine Manitoba show will be returning next week on Monday at the same time, live on Facebook, on ASTV Productions, on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV, as well as on our website at ASTV Productions. That show of Rise and Shine Manitoba, that edition of the show, will go on next Monday at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time, live across all of the places you can watch it on our network. But until then, folks, I've been your host of Rise and Shine Manitoba, Graeme Forsyth, signing off now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's edition of Manitoba's show. If you did, leave it a like or leave a comment, whatever you want to show your appreciation for it. Or, you can just, keep watching next week, as we will have some great guests. Until next Monday, I'll see you then. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Stay safe out there, and have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend as well. See you next Monday, folks. Peace.